We should tell people that. So last night I have 2 spots in Columbus doing Don't Tells, and then I coordinate with you and Jarrell to do a spot at, like a late spot at Bricky's.
Yeah.
So it's like an hour and a half from where I was in Columbus. Really cutting it close as far as making it to get there before the closer goes up. I'm like 23 minutes away. You're like, there's 25 minutes of comedy. I got to pee really bad. Cruise control, like 75 miles an hour. I'm peeing in a water bottle and I got too much pee for the water bottle.
That'll happen. Yeah.
So I start pissing all over my pants.
Was it? It's all just been a gradual incremental process. And I think we're like 90% to like, like an optimized, like, fundamental comedy club experience.
Yeah.
And we still got a few little changes to make, but we're at, 14 shows a month now. So we I feel like we've come a long way. I mean, we still got a long way to go. But
how many shows were you doing when you first started Bricky's? 3 years? Has it been 3 years now?
We started in August of 22, and we were doing 1 show a month when we started.
Wow, dude.
So from 1 to 14 shows has been crazy.
For you, you're growing with Bricky's as the owner, so it's probably harder for you to see that growth because it's happening in front of you in real time. But, I think a lot of other people see that that's a great thing happening in Dayton for comedy in general, man. So that's awesome.
Thanks,
Tell me this. Do you think comedy clubs should be ran and booked by comedians? Because you obviously started off in the business and now you're a club owner. Do you think that gives you an advantage? Because a lot of people are business owners and you want to sell tickets too at the end of the day. So you want to get big names in there. But
yeah,
as a comic, like, how does that change the perspective as a business owner of a comedy club?
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. I mean, I think whether or not it's a good idea for a comedian to run a comedy club kind of depends on that person's mentality, because I could see scenarios where, and I've witnessed it before too, where you have a comedian run comedy club, but maybe the comedian utilizes it excessively for stage time to the detriment of the overall business, to the detriment of the comedy scene. That does happen occasionally. Luckily, we haven't had anything like that in Dayton, I don't think, but I've seen it happen in other scenes. So that's one way that it can actually be, counterproductive. But on the flip side, if you've got a comedian who is kind of somewhat business oriented and willing to like kind of not make their own comedy like the focal point, then that's probably a decent blueprint, because then they'll have the insight of what it's like to be a comedian like within this industry, matched with like a strategic approach that actually like grows the business, and is good for the comedy community locally. So yeah, it's a good question, man. I think it's kind of a mix. Like there are a lot of benefits to a comedian running a comedy club, and I think there can be benefits to outsiders doing it too.
Yeah.
Depending on how, like what their mentality is.
Sure. Yeah. I could see that on both ends, but I just think it must be a little bit different for you because you're obviously involved in the scene and you have like experience working with a lot of the comics that you're putting on and giving opportunities to.
Sure.
So it's like you kind of are making some little Bricky's babies,
Yeah,
you are. Have you thought about that at all?
Man, it's crazy to think, but yeah, I think we are doing that. I mean, a lot of guys have come in and females too, who've done their, I love it. Making sure to include that.
Nice.
Broads and stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you're also the HR department. So you wear a lot of hats over there.
Yeah.
So we totally get it.
I got to meet with myself later on in HR.
Yeah, it's just you. But, it's just, you have to go to different seats on a desk.
It's a table
multiple
like this,
paperwork at different places. Yeah.
It's a mirror.
You're like playing chess with yourself.
I'm a Bricky's baby.
You started there,
Pat?
That was my first ever club.
Well, look at that, dude. We have the producer of this podcast started there. We can't have this podcast right now. This wouldn't be happening in real time without Bricky's. Look at that.
That's 100%. I mean, we started almost the same time. Like I started
when Bricky's started.
I mean, like I think I started April 2023. So
Okay, yeah.
That had been going on for a little bit. Yeah, but that's when your mic kind of kicked off, huh?
Yeah, well,
the Friday night mic started happening every week.
We started the Friday mic in March of 2023, so that would have been one of our first Friday mics. And when we first started the Friday mic, we were only doing it once a month, so that was probably our second or maybe third Friday mic ever.
Like Matt Zane had been like, "Hey, we had fun. Like, you should try to go out there." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And then I signed up online, and then that was my first club. I didn't do Wiley's for like months. 6 months, and then I was like, I like Bricky so much. I was always like, this is the place, because I was like, it's like a huge venue. Like, you could step away and you could still, because big part of comedy is like the hang, So it's like perfect place to just hang out. I mean, there's couches all over the place. And then the world record just sealed it, because we did the world record and it was like people had brought tents and people were like sleeping and hanging out. I mean, I literally was there over the course of what was it?
You 84? Were there a lot.
I was 60 hours. I was there.
That's when you first started, when you were just
I was 6 months in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You were brand new.
Pat, well, both of you guys were a huge part of the record, and you did. I liked the podcast that you did.
Oh yeah,
upstairs.
We got to do a pod. We did. Yeah, you guys go back and watch that episode. We covered Bricky's. We had a bunch of different comics that were on the show that night. We were rotating through comics, and I think I did 3 or 4 different appearances that I got to do, like a 4 a.m. spot, like a 3 p.m. one time, and then like you put me on the last night too, so I got a really sweet spot when it was packed in there.
Nice.
The last night right before, I was like 4 people before you went up on the
okay.
When you went up and like said, "Hey, we're fucking doing it right."
That changed my life.
As the hour actually broke, you were on stage saying, "Hey, we're doing it right now."
I have a video of
I got chills thinking about it. Everybody in the room was like freaking out. It was like, holy shit, we're like,
maybe we'll splice in my video of him breaking the record. I have it.
Yeah, I actually do have chills. That's crazy. That was a moment.
You know what's crazy is my recollection of it is like pretty limited. I mean, I've seen like videos after the fact and stuff, but I really don't remember much of what I said.
Oh, because you were blown out. You were awake for 97 hours.
Yeah. I think I had
you
slept.
were mentally fucked.
Oh, dude,
he was gone. Yeah, I forgot about that. You were a little like out of it that night.
To be completely honest, and I've kind of stopped like talking about it because I feel like I'm like complaining or something like that. But I still have not recovered from the world record. Yeah, I like mentally I'm still like kind of climbing back, but it really wasn't that 4 to 5 day stretch. It was the 3 months in the lead up to it. I think which is the reason why this upcoming time, like I think the way to like finally kind of return to being myself is to do the record again, but do it in a more intelligent way. I mean, I kind of ended up trapped with the last record in a way because there were some people, nothing against them, but there were some people that had agreed to be on board at the outset, who then bailed like once we got past the point of no return, and I was the only person left to throw it together. But
so you had to schedule all of that?
I had to schedule all of it. Had to.
I remember all that.
Oh my God!
It was crazy. I didn't sleep for. The 5 days was one thing, but I didn't sleep for 3 months in the lead up to that. And not only that, but this wasn't super smart on my part, but I was taking Adderall all the time.
Oh yeah.
I was, and I wasn't doing it for. I mean, I do, have some like attention deficit issues and.
Hey, you had paperwork to do, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you were pencil pushing, bro.
I was like abusing it, in order to be able to like get the amount of work that needed to be done.
The dark side of the dark side of the world record fest. You can see the headline.
It's that then that we became a front for organized crime. Actually, no, but
I mean, tell them about like Kevin stood so long that his legs swelled.
Oh, I think I told you about that. Yeah.
No, dude, what happened?
Yeah, I was standing for so long during it because I hosted for the first 29 hours. So my ankles.
Humble brag, Kev.
My
Why'd you do that?
I just hosted for the first 29, and then I tagged someone in.
Yeah. But my ankles like swelled like out of my like
Holy
pants
shit.
basically. It was crazy.
Oh, actually, I was there. Because I don't think I came. I did one of the earlier shows the first day, and then I think I had 2 days later I had another spot, and then that's when I had probably come at one of the 4 a.m. spots, which was my second one, and I think you were still at Bricky's, you just weren't standing, and then who was hosting at that time? Was it
Dick hosted for
Kyle
a long
Rogers?
time.
Yeah. Who'd you pass it to first? Do you remember? Was it Rogers or maybe?
It must have been Kyle.
I think because he hosted for quite a while.
It could have been.
Dick also did it.
Dick hosted for like ever, and then Kyle hosted forever, and I was kind of running the show in the back, and Kevin went home to go to sleep because I was like, hey, go to fucking sleep, dude.
Yeah,
I was like, I can sit here and make sure we have 10 people. And
you could barely walk, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
You were messed up.
It was wild.
You couldn't take off your pants, right?
Like, that was the thing was when I
could have. All right.
So what's crazy looking back on it too is that the intention was for me to go home and get some sleep. This was like 3 days in or something like that. And so I go back to my apartment in Middletown, and I went to like take my pants off so I could like just lay down on the couch, and my pants wouldn't come off my body because my legs were swollen. So I literally just like passed out in my pants for like 2 hours, and then just got up and went back to Bricky's. But yeah, that whole thing was crazy. But yeah, I think the other thing that kind of fucked me up was I was probably drinking like 5 or 6 energy drinks per day in the lead up to the world record. And then when we actually did the record, I don't even know. Someone brought me an entire bag of Monsters, and they were gone in like 2 days.
Oh my God.
So
we'll find out who tried to kill you, dude.
I forgot about all that. There was like a rotation, like every morning, like people would bring in donuts, and then the donuts would slowly dissipate, and then it was pizza the rest of the night until donuts again the next day.
Dude, there were so many comics bringing in food. It was like a feast, though. There was like literally
a lot of food.
Everybody came together, and like every 4 hours, you would see people bringing in a few pies, a few 100 burgers. Yeah, and they were just like, I remember at one point I had went to VK and got a couple things for the guy, but then you come back, and then other people were bringing in Chinese and cakes, and it was like. It was crazy. It was like what's it? Remember Robin Williams when he was Peter Pan? What was it? Hook. That's what it felt like. Like we were just like kids at a big table, and there was just everything that you would want, all junk.
It blew my mind,
but stuff that was keeping us alive.
For sure.
The whole thing was I don't know, the whole record. It really changed like my whole comedy, like everything about it.
Yeah.
I'm a Bricky's baby, dude.
I met a lot of people.
That's awesome.
I met a lot of comics there that are still my friends now too. Like people that I hadn't worked with before, because I mean there was comics from all over the Midwest coming through to make it happen. It took a lot of people. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I mean it was a wild experience, and I'm trying to do it differently this next time. Like I really want to. I mean, we've got a little more lead time this time around. We've got like 7 or 8 months before the next attempt.
Are we doing it in February again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be right around the same time. I think it's like the 13th to the 18th.
Sign me up,
something
baby.
like that. Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get the whole group back together. But yeah, I feel like that's the antidote to like the stuff I've been experiencing since then is like, I need to do it again, but do it in a way that is like more balanced and measured. And basically I need to arrange things to whatever degree this is possible, where I can actually I'll be there to supervise the like 16 hours, but then I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep, or something like that.
You just gotta set it up in shifts. Really, I mean, we had it kind of in shifts. For the logistics of how you did it was crazy, smart too, because you were supposed to be there for 2-hour blocks, so you always had 10 before and 10 after to stay in the audience, and that was like smart. So if you would have just assigned those shifts to like a shift manager, basically.
What's crazy is that we did that because we had designated some people to plug into those roles. But then when that actual time came, I sort of realized within the first few hours, I was like, this is actually going to have to be very closely monitored for at least the first like like I was scared to hand off the ball until I knew that we had some momentum behind us.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so easy for like within the first 24 hours, one little misstep to scrap the whole thing. And we only had this is the crazy thing that I realized recently is that the first night going into this thing, and I mean, considering that we had to have 10 people in the audience at all times for the duration of the record, it's crazy that this is the case, but we only had 15 tickets sold going into that first night. So it was a real case of like, we got to front load everything. Like, and it just became a scramble of like, let's get as many people as we can hear this first night, and the momentum will carry. I
think so. Yeah.
And but it also created this pressure, this like imperative to be like, I got to be like micromanaging this and until we get to a place where the momentum is solid and everybody's kind of on the same page. Like everybody has like learned the rules over the last couple days. And then but once by the time you're halfway through it, you just kind of keep going with that strategy through the duration of it. But that's why, like Patrick and like Kyle Rogers and a bunch of you guys were so helpful, was that like that enabled me to like survive the final day, because that final day I was like, I had nothing left in the tank at all. But people were kind of like literally it was like, it felt like it was like labor intensive to like talk,
Yeah.
So people like filling into like wherever I wasn't able to like do something, it really kind of saved the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was a real like community.
Do you feel like now leading up to this next one that you have a good team and there's enough guys in the scene you can trust to be able to pull it off even better and more seamlessly this time?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like we've got a bigger scene. We've got a tight knit scene, especially in comparison to a lot of the other scenes around like the Midwest and the country. I am a little cautiously optimistic, because I think something like a subtle way that it's going to be harder this time is like every societal trend is kind of advancing at an exponential pace right now, so however detached and isolated and, like siloed people were 2 years ago, just on the micro level, they're going to be that much more so now, and I think that means whenever you're trying to mobilize like a community effort, like there's going to be like, potential for conflict, potential for like people, kind of being at loggerheads about like spots, like upset about like getting this time slot as opposed to that time slot. And then once we actually start to do the event, I mean, like to get people all on board again, to be like, hey, no, we really have to do this as a team. Like everybody's got to pull their weight in terms of showing up 2 hours before, staying 2 hours after. I think that'll be harder a little bit this time, because I do think that, to no one's fault, people are just their attention spans and their willpower with stuff like that is diminishing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel it with myself too. I mean, like it's just a product of, we're constantly consuming content. There's just a environment of like instant gratification with like in all these different areas. I notice people being a lot less like reflective and like introspective. Like there's a lot more like just pure id out there. And I think that could pose some challenges, but if there's any place that can do it, it's Dayton, cause we do have that community. And I think that for the most part, I think that's fully intact. And I just continue to try and like preserve it as much as I can. The thing that sucks is that I don't have my same social skill set that I had going into the original world record. Like I'm not as good at like kind of like getting people to come together in every situation, because I'm just like trying to like survive all this shit.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like get back to a place where I'm like being a little more like empathetic toward people and kind of just considering people's different perspectives and trying to get people to like, to join together to try and do something difficult. Even if it's not like, as opposed to something that's just individually gratifying, which is what we're all driven toward right now.
Yeah. It does make a lot of sense what you're saying. I think most people are just like because comedy is a business where, yes, there are communities. Some are better than others. Ours is obviously sweet. We got a lot of great guys and gals that are, we always root for each other. People go to each other's shows. They share people's stuff. It's a good community to be part of. But yeah, the individualism of it is what a lot of people are focused on, because comedy is like a solo sport. As much as we all come together to make the shows happen, and especially you sacrifice a lot to make sure that we all have spots to do every week. So it's like, for different folks, different strokes, and most people are selfish because like there's no necessarily one show or one thing that's gonna like put you on or make you a thing, right? It's not there's no like one thing that will make you sort of make your career, is what I'm trying to say. So people always go for the better thing. It's like, and the more the scene is established, the more these guys are working. It's harder to like pin them down on a weekend, and not to be like, hey, don't take that paid thing at the Funny Bone. We got to do this together. It is. I do see what you're saying. So it makes it more difficult for sure. But having like that core Bricky's comics, whether it's like 15 or 20 guys that will sacrifice that weekend to make it happen, and just get them as far in advance as you can. As soon, you know, I don't know when you're going to start booking it. I would assume end of this year.
Man, I think we're going to start booking it probably next like few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
you're about to put the link out soon then.
You have to do it like 6 months in advance, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think
that's 8 months from now. You're right. You probably could use ample planning time. The more, the better.
For sure.
I think the community, like if you just take like last night, there was probably 15 comics that come every single week, basically.
Yeah.
Or 10, at least 10 comics that come every single mic.
The regulars.
That's
the regulars, you know, and like, I feel like the community is stronger. I think the record might be easier in a lot of ways because the people that stayed at Bricky's and dedicated that time, but first time, a lot of us had never done. I had never done 15 minutes, and then I did 15 minutes over the course of the thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think the core that you were building in the early days of when we did that is like, that core is, you know, we're all stronger comics now. So I think as long as we all plan it right, I mean, we did it with a shoestring budget, like, or, you know, like it all got put on Kevin at the last minute. Like if we take the 6 months, how long are we trying to do?
90.
We could do 90.
What's for?
It'd be real hard to break that for them, for anybody else.
Well, that's true.
And hey, shout out to Zanies, but you know,
sure.
It's
What's
cool.
4 days?
4 days.
It's 96 hours.
Yeah.
96 hours.
Yeah.
4-day comedy.
Man.
That's
a long time.
Thursday through Sunday.
Well, what if you just plan 2 shows? What if you plan 2 shows and then you double them up? Does it have to be that much variety? Can't you just do 48 hours of bookings and you say, hey, everybody's got 2 spots guaranteed, and if people can fill in if people don't show or whatever here and there, but just book 48 hours of comedy, and then like a butterfly, double your sheet and be like, everybody's got at least 1 spot here and 1 spot here, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an option. You don't have to do that, obviously. I'm just throwing it out there just for simplicity's sake.
So I'll need to confer with Guinness again to see if they'll make any adjustments to the criteria.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does the criteria stand? How does it stand as far as that plan? Would that make sense, or does it need to be a different people every night, every time? What's the show? You know what I mean? How's the stanza work for them?
The criteria was just you couldn't go up within 2 hours, like within like
more than once every 4 hours.
Once every 4 hours. So if you did do what Johnny said and book like a 48-hour show, as long as the first 4 of the 48 is not the same as the last 4, then you could just 48 and then boom, 96, because it's the same,
What's 48 times 15?
I can't.
So basically, like, let's say, just as a hypothetical, like 100 comics for the first 48 hours, 100 comics for the second.
Yeah.
For something like that. Yeah, that's an interesting way to do it.
Or even just the same 100 comics.
That's what I'm saying.
Boop,
then you wouldn't have to rely on so many people, but it would be so good to have people on standby.
You had people do like one set across the whole 83, And then you had guys like Kyle. I think Kyle probably did like 6 sets.
Yeah, he did a lot of sets.
Because he just had to fill in. And
Not that many people can fill that time, brother.
I got a lot of respect for Kyle because, I mean, as long as you were on stage and you were trying to be funny, like you know, so he was doing a lot, you know, it was a lot of crowd work and stuff, but that, you know, for him to just go up there and, you know, you just got to, I mean, Kyle's kind of the right guy to sit on that medal. Kyle's kind of type A mentality, I think. So it's like,
for sure,
you set him on that, you know, here's your objective, go. He was kind of, but I do like that idea of the 48 hours thing.
I mean, it's not terrible.
It's
I mean,
a little in the weeds
throwing,
for anybody that doesn't
just
know.
throwing it out there. Yeah. Just, we're really getting into how the chili's made today.
It's true.
I do love Brickies, and I'm really optimistic about the next world record attempt. I think it's going to be good for everyone that's involved. So
thanks, man.
Shout out to you for having the balls to just pull all this together.
I appreciate it.
They said we couldn't do it.
And they said we couldn't do it.
That's
and
they'll say it again.
They'll say it over and over, dude. But you know, ye have little faith.
That's right.
All right. Yeah. So let's dive in, Kev.
Let's start the show. 27 minutes in.
Are we recording? Shit. I thought we were just bullshitting. All right.
Shit.
And then you get on. It's like those people you put a camera on them and they don't know how to talk anymore.
Yeah.
It's like we've been talking for an hour straight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, what's interesting?
I'll stop chiming in.
I was just listening to this marketing video, and it was like, yeah, the back half of your YouTube video, not that important. You really just want to have a good hook. And if you can keep people there for the first 27, 30 minutes, then you can they'll probably stay for the whole hour. And I was like, well, let's just
same with the world record. If you could keep them there for the first 48,
exactly.
They got another set in 36 more hours.
Exactly.
Come back. And
once people commit to something, you know, they're in.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's
how World War III started, or
World
War II.
I like it. Hey, speaking of World War III,
yeah.
Well, Kevin, for people who don't know, you also have before your comedy career, you have a background in political science and politics. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So I know you're busy, but do you know what's going on in the world today?
I haven't been following it as closely as I usually do, but I did see that Iran and Israel are now in full-blown military conflict.
Yeah, check this out real quick. So I was in the green room of the Don't Tell shows yesterday, and we turned the TV on, and the first thing that comes up is 43 people injured. Israel bombs Iran.
Yep.
Israel kills the nuclear arms leader of their program. They kill the head of their
blew up a bunch of their nuclear facilities.
Blew up the facilities, killed the head of their military and the head of the nuclear program.
Yep.
And had just completely crippled the Iranian military in the last 48 hours, which
real nice guys.
Well, yeah, you're real nice.
Real nice guys.
Real nice guys. So I don't know what you know about recent events, but obviously you have a background in this. And what does this mean to someone like you who can kind of have a little foresight on political events and even what you know about the history of sort of the Middle East? Because this is, Pat mentioned this earlier, and it's like, this is a battle that's been going on for thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
I know little about it, but I do know that you obviously have studied politics and political influence. So what does this kind of mean for the world and what's going on right now? I don't know what you can tell us.
Question.
Yeah, it's not that tough. You know, you are a comedian.
Solve
but
Israel Palestine now.
You don't have to solve it. Well, what are your thoughts on it, and where do you think this is leading? Is World War III gonna happen? This right now, guys, Kevin Ruppert has the answer. All right. No. That's a lot of pressure. But do you think that we could be leading up to WW3?
Well, I will say, so there's that old, I want to say it's an Albert Einstein quote where he said, I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but I know World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. That's 100% accurate. So World War III is really not an option. I mean, in terms of how diplomats and like the heads of countries should be looking at it, because World War III equals a nuclear holocaust that would wipe out most of civilization. So, I mean, there's always a risk escalation, but my hope would be that cooler heads are going to prevail. You know, there are always these military conflicts that crop up between countries in the Middle East that the U.S. and Russia are kind of fighting proxy wars through, but usually it gets resolved diplomatically. So, man, yeah, this is
I love your optimism, Kevin, but I got to push back a little bit.
Oh, go for it, man.
This is my thought on it, is that these guys have so much power and so much money.
Yeah.
They have underground facilities.
That's a good point.
They have safety, even though that the generators are only going to last for so long, and eventually they'll suffocate with their family too, right? Unless you have like a sweet like Vault Tech technology. If you ever played Fallout, right? It could be possible. Dude, I do want to say this though real quick. This is a crazy tangent. We probably shouldn't have had the weed before the show, but I'm thinking about Fallout, and then I'm also thinking about Assassin's Creed. But just a quick side note, and we'll get back to Israel Palestine because this is an important issue.
I want to talk about World of Warcraft after that.
Absolutely. We could. We're gonna do
World War III craft.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a theory that we live in a simulation. It's obviously a more popular theory today in this day and time with all the technology that we have and everything happening. But however, in the game Fallout, there are certain. The game is basically based around survivors of like a nuclear fallout in America, right? North America. And so years later, people come out of these shelters, but some of them still exist, and some people are just still down there, and they think that's reality. So at one point, you go into one of these other bunkers in a different facility in a different part of the country, and there are people in these dream pods, and they're basically hooked up like the Matrix, or like how Assassin's Creed puts you in the Animus. They hook this AI up to your spine. You're like, it's like neural link. You know, it's where you're in Egypt, right? But there's a bunch of them.
Called?
Assassin's Creed
Origins, maybe.
That's the Origins. So this is like a popular theory in like the nerd core, right? Reality is a simulation world, and it's like why aren't we already in those sleep pods? We're so close to cracking reality, like virtual reality, being seamless with reality. Like, right, we're like less than 50 years away from not knowing whether you're in it or not. So why aren't we in it now? That's all I'm saying. That's
I think we are.
I think it's possible.
I'm
also.
like 100% confident.
I know. That's what I believe it solely, that we could be on a spaceship in some dream thing trying to make it to Earth right now. This could all be a practice run.
Guys, don't mention it, or we're gonna get fucking beamed up.
Oh, yeah,
beam me up, Scotty.
We all just fucking Johnny Woods, Morning Woods podcast, the Lost
No,
Files.
trust me, the CIA wants to push these theories. That's why they feed them to me in my algorithm.
They're like, these fucking idiots think we're in a simulation. Meanwhile, we're fucking blowing up nuclear facilities.
Exactly, dude.
U.S. is not involved though. You know?
Well, that's how good we have it in the West still. That we can just people are getting bombed right now. We can dream that we live in a computer.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. But I think that there's an abundance of like really almost irrefutable evidence that our conscious experience is a simulation. I mean, a good starting point is they've done experiments, like physicists have done experiments where when you fire photons like through exactly. The photons will behave completely differently depending on whether or not they're being observed.
100%.
That's how quantum computers work too.
Exactly.
Also, could that be how we work? Could we be the photons? Because we all act differently around different observations, which is other people, right?
Well, the multiple realities theory is that you just said that and the opposite of that and every variation of that.
In a different reality.
And that's how quantum computers, we were talking about that last week, that's how they work, is like they're going, instead of, this or this and get this answer back, they're doing all the different options of the question.
Instead of yes and, it's yes.
It's like all the different avenues of the way the question could be framed and all their answers. And then it's a probability scale. So like all like quantum theory is like based on probabilities. So like we're most probable that if I knock this over, it'll fall over. But there's another reality where I hit it and it doesn't fall over. But it's more probable because of all these circumstances that have led to this point that it would fall over.
Exactly.
Okay,
We're
so
real deep in the weeds.
you were
So-
telling me about the double slit experiment. Tell me more about
the
your
reason
theory.
why that's significant, in addition to what Pat was saying about quantum computing and multi-universe theory, that angle is that what it implies is that the components that make up our environment or our perceived environment are being rendered in real time. That's what that experiment suggests. So, like, for example, if we're in a simulation, we're in this room right now, everything that's actually outside of our visual like perception is actually like nothingness.
It's just white.
Exactly. Just like if
It's
you're
like a
playing
video game or like
That's right.
Minecraft. It's it builds the world as you get to see that far.
Sort of like the Matrix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's just nothingness, and then all of a sudden the living room or like the wall of guns or whatever. They were in a dojo. It's like everything around you that's not currently being rendered is not real.
That's right. And the reason why that's advantageous if you're building a fully immersive simulation is that the amount of computing power you're going to need is almost unfathomable. I mean, it's just insane. So if you're rendering things in real time, that saves on computing power. So this is one piece of evidence. Another piece of evidence is that a lot of people have theorized in the past that the way that you would provide the energy for the computing power to create a simulation like that is by using devices that surround like stars
It's called a
distant
Dyson
galaxies,
sphere.
Dyson spheres. And they just recently with the James Webb telescope observed what they believe to be potentially Dyson spheres
Near Earth?
light years away. It'd be in like fairly distant galaxies and stuff like that. But they believe that they're looking at Dyson spheres. So you've got that. You've got the fact that our environment appears to trend toward more and more structure over time, which runs counter to every physicist's, like every general theory about how
Entropy.
Exactly. About how energy and matter should unfold over a long timeline. Like we're almost like
the heat death of the universe is like based on like Einstein's principles that like everything, like you can't, but that's why suns die and stuff, because they use up so much power over time that they eventually collapse.
Yeah.
It's called entropy.
Yep. Exactly. So we're far more like if we were to use a video game as an analogy, we're kind of like Minecraft. Like we just become more structured over time. So that also suggests we're in a simulation. The other logical deductive piece of evidence is if you look at our reality as a microcosm for whatever contains it within this reality, we will at some point reach a point where virtual reality is indistinguishable from our base reality, which suggests that it's almost like a 1 in a billion chance that we're in base reality.
So we're probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So high degree of likelihood that we're in a simulation for sure.
Yeah. I also believe it at times because I'm like, okay, if this is all a simulation, then I can obviously control it slowly over time by thinking and manifesting about new reality in the future of this current character that I'm basically playing, right?
Yep.
And this is a thought that I don't share with people, but
sure.
Yeah, I do think to myself all the time, like, okay, let me slowly, incrementally get better at this one thing. Yeah. And I see the progress happen in real time. And I do believe that, I'm like getting like this weird gratification, almost like I'm in a video game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you see like the slot machine like light up when you win and all the lights go off and it's like sounds, and it's like I get these weird feelings almost like I'm winning or something. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Like when you have certain milestones that you hit, whether it's your comedy or your personal relationships, you're like, oh man, I've been working towards this almost like it's a fucking game.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's like
Yep.
people kind of, they have this saying like, oh, they gamified it. Like we're gamifying everything, but wasn't it already?
Yeah.
Right. Aren't we kind of just tapping into that ecosphere, if you will? Does that make sense? Or are we just kind of like, because the general zeitgeist of how people think and how we sort of navigate through reality is all coming from consciousness, right? So the more we all kind of think about these ideas, the more we're leaning towards this sort of inevitable future, I think.
100%, man. Yeah, I definitely think, and you, before we started recording, we were talking about psychedelics and how that can like reframe life circumstances and how that relates to like mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people find the simulation theory demoralizing because it makes, from their vantage point, it makes life more trivial or something. The way that I kind of look at it is, if life is a simulation, there's some degree of probability that before the simulation commences, we select the parameters. Like we kind of like dictate the circumstances that we're going to find ourselves in.
Yeah, like, I'm a wood elf, you know?
Exactly.
A wood elf.
That's right. Because I mean, like, so my favorite video game is Madden, like the NFL football game. And before you go into, like, before you play an exhibition game, you can go in and select, I want it to be cold. I want it to be at this time. You kind of select the settings that you want, this difficulty level. So that means that everything that occurs in your life or within this experience could quite possibly be something that you already suggested or something you already pre-programmed your simulation to,
like you signed up for it.
Exactly.
Like you accepted the difficulty level for each particular challenge.
That's right.
And so you know that you can handle it.
Exactly. And every piece of adversity was put there for a reason that you may not understand logically within the simulation, but when you're on the other side of it, it'll make sense that you acquired that additional piece of insight or that additional skill set. So I think that all the evidence points toward us being in a simulation, and at the same time, I find it to actually be kind of like uplifting and a little bit freeing, So I actually think I prefer that to like a sort of heaven or hell paradigm, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell. I mean, I like it.
If that
most
one's real.
of us are. But
I was talking to Pat about like heaven and hell, just a little bit about religion earlier, and I was just like, it's strange to me. The Israel-Gaza thing came up, and then I was like, it's strange to me that Christianity seems to be like the main religion, but it's like the newest one of the big three, right? You have like like the Jewish people, you have how do you say Muslims, Jewish people, and then Christianity, which is only a few thousand years old, where these other ones have been around for who knows.
I want to say, I could be wrong about this, I think Islam is a little newer. I think Islam was around like 900 AD or something
I have it
like
here.
that. I want to say
Judaism is the oldest of the three Abrahamic religions, followed by Christianity and then Islam.
Gotcha.
So how long has Judaism been around?
So Judaism and Hebrews developed out of the Second Temple in the 1st century CE, and Islam emerged in the 7th century CE.
So Judaism has been around for a lot longer.
Well, I mean, Christ was a Jew.
Right, his parents were traditional Jewish people.
Yeah, and then
he wasn't necessarily.
He was a Jew. He was born a Jewish person. He followed the Jewish religion, but then he was like this, kind of like the Messiah. So he came.
Right. I guess that would make sense because he's not the one that necessarily wrote all the books about himself and that he was and started a new religion based on him.
Based on like
it's like a sect of Judaism in a way.
Like
with new rules.
What's it called? Like
sicker rules. Stay up later.
What's
eat
it called?
Pizza rules.
What's it? Yeah. Because there's like the First Testament, right?
Oh, you're talking about like the Old and New Testament?
Old and New Testament. So old. Yeah. I mean, it's the same Bible though. Like
the
because like
the Christian Bible.
What like Noah's Ark? That's like for Old Testament, and like Moses is Old Testament. Moses is older than Jesus, and then Jesus is like the New Testament.
Okay.
Because he came from God. He was,
Right.
And I don't know how
As they say.
Islam started. I'm not sure.
Islam.
Let's go to our Islamic correspondent, Kevin Ruppert.
Kevin Ruppert, what's
Thanks,
going
Pat.
on over there?
Reporting.
Is Jesus coming back?
Reporting from Baghdad. No, I'm just, but I feel like, green screen in the background, just a palm tree or like a desert or something. Wait, we've got this. We practically are in the Middle East.
It's pretty hot in here.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I want to do a reboot of Stripes. We just call it Bad Dads in Baghdad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you get to do Bill Murray's character.
Nice. I'll take it. But I want to say that Islam.
All right, we're good. Yeah, that's nice.
I have a cough button right here.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're really feeling those buttons over there.
I'm turning on and off my mic because the fan.
I know. I noticed that. Can you hear your fan a little bit when you turn it on and off? You think?
Probably not, but
a hair. I can hear it, but these dynamic mics should they're supposed to just pick up what's like right in front of them.
Well, Johnny gave me, I'm using my mic. He didn't supply me with the mic.
That's true. So we have like a freaking $20 karaoke mic over there for Pat.
Nice.
It does have a lot of bass though. It sounds good. You got the God mic.
I
going.
have to make my, I have to give more bass.
Oh.
Just to help myself out,
Well, dude, don't break the fourth wall. Now people at home know you're a little more feminine than you make yourself out to be behind that mic.
Well, if you want to know what I look like, check out Kill Tony at the Bridgestone Arena, Kid Rock in Mark.
Hey, speaking of the Bridgestone Arena, I talked to our pal Caleb earlier, and I was like, "Hey, aren't you glad that didn't come out yet?"
I was gonna say,
it might not come out. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. That was a tough night. You think it was better? There was like 7 comics in a row who did it
because it's never fucking coming out. But
it might not ever come out.
I think it's coming out. I think they're doing one arena show a month. So mine came out in May. We shot in April. Mine came out in May, and then I think his is going to come out in June. And then they're at the O2 Arena, so I think that's going to come out in July. And then they're filming in August at MSG.
Yeah.
And the reason I say the episode has to come out is because there's going to be a kid at MSG that got picked.
Oh, that's true.
So to explain his backstory, there was like an 11-year-old kid that did.
We're not supposed to tell people what happens.
Who fucking cares? Tony, come for me. I love
for our
you.
86 viewers.
Yeah, Tony, come for me. I love you. Yeah. So I
Night
think
2, we're in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena, just to give people a little perspective on what we're talking about. We're watching Kill Tony. We watch 7 comedians go up for their very first time and do very poorly. Then one of our friends, Caleb Lee from Dayton, gets picked. He does a joke that's a longer joke and doesn't really have a punch up front. And and they didn't like him. And the crowd was already booing other people before him. So they started booing on him too. It was a bad showing. So it was almost everybody for their first time. And then Caleb, a newer comic who didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
And then Tony was like, hey, this is not going well. I don't even think I'm going to pick a bucket spot. I'm going to pick someone from the crowd. And then Tony brings an 11-year-old kid up from the crowd.
Wow.
Well, remember what
changed
he
his
actually
life.
he
The kid
actually
crushed.
brought up a guy from the comics section first. Remember?
I thought that the kid came. I thought that
it
guy
was
came
Caleb,
after.
and then Caleb did so bad that he was like, "We need a more experienced comic," and he
That's
went
right.
to the comics section and he made everybody sit down by how long they had been doing comedy, and somebody that had been doing it 15 years got pulled up, and then Tony was like, "Let's finish it off." And then he pulled the 11-year-old kid up, and then the kid crushed because, for one, circumstances, he's a kid doing a set, and the show was kind of bad up until then.
Yeah.
But the kid was funny.
But the kid was funny, so then he got a spot at MSG in August.
Wow. Okay.
He basically told the kid, like, you're a golden ticket winner, and I want you to open up the show at Madison Square Garden. An 11-year-old kid, first time ever doing stand-up in front of 20,000 people. His mom started crying.
That's incredible.
Adam Ray was
He saw some titties, man.
yeah, he did, because there were girls pulling their shirts up for sure. But Adam Ray was like, "Holy shit, that kid's mom's gonna quit her job." Like, this kid's a comic now, basically.
That
Like,
is, yeah, that's
it
insane.
was nuts, dude. Yeah,
So that's why I think the episode kind of has to come out, and I'm thinking it comes out in June.
yeah, it must be.
And it's going to be the third week of June,
Yeah.
and mine came out the third week of May, coming up this Monday.
Okay.
So you mentioned when they had pointed up to Tony had looked up to the comic section, which was kind of off to the left of stage. We were like, I mean, I could have hit Kid Rock with my popcorn if I wanted. That's how close we were to these guys.
Sure.
And he was looking up to us, and
I was even closer.
you were on the stage, but the disparity between when there was about, I don't know, over 200 people up in the comic section, and he was like, all right, everybody, all the comics stand up. Anybody who's been doing it for less than 5 years, sit down. And it was probably only like 10 of us still standing.
Oh, wow.
And then he was like, all right, anybody less than 10 years, sit down. And then there was only basically one guy.
Yeah, one
and
guy.
then another guy.
15 years. Yeah.
There was this black guy, and he took his shirt off and started spinning it in the air. And Tony was like, I don't trust that guy. He was like, the other guy who's still standing, you can come down and do a spot, basically.
Wow, that's crazy.
But it was just nuts to me to see how many people who have been like, I mean, it was just a handful of us that had been doing it for more than 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, it was very, very small group of people. And that just goes to show like how many people stick in this business and stick it out.
It's not many.
Even less than the 10 to 15 to 20 year mark. Especially
Yeah.
if you haven't been like really making things happen. If you're not grinding and you're not doing it, it's going to take even longer.
It's it can be a really brutal endeavor. I mean, it's tough on people mentally because
Mhm.
you get exposed to a side of, in a way, I think you get exposed to a side of humanity that is kind of demoralizing a little bit, because you'll have experiences where, let's say at a venue, you know, there's like bar staff and regulars, stuff like that. You'll have experiences where when you have a good set, those people will be buying you shots. They'll want to talk to you. They want to hang out. And then they see you have a bad set the next week and they won't even look you in the eye.
Yeah.
You know, and that's,
They look at you
that's
like a homeless person.
crazy to me.
I hurt your
that's-
feelings so much.
It does.
You think none of your friends like you? You have like the stink of a bomb on you.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you
Yeah.
guys hate it when all your friends have good sets and you bomb, and then at the end of the show you're standing next to your friends and everyone shakes their hand like, "Hey, you had a great set," and then they won't acknowledge you?
Yeah.
It is
Yep.
fucking soul crushing.
I
Oh,
keep
yeah.
on getting.
Yeah.
You did great up there. First time. I keep on getting that. So much. It hurts my feelings.
I'm gonna
It's-
start saying that to you.
Yeah, I know.
It's something that aspect of this whole thing has never made sense to me. It's why I try to always treat people the same, regardless of like how that particular night's set went. Because I think to like the general public, they have a hard time like holding two thoughts in their mind at once, where it's like, this person can have a bad set and still be an overall good comedian. They can have lots of bad sets and still be a good comedian. You know,
The bad sets
Norm
are what make
Macdonald
the
as
good
an
sets.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Like people who are maybe not necessarily the best comedian, they can have really good moments, you know, as well. So it's a lot more complex and it's a lot more nuanced than people are generally willing to see. And I think for that reason, they just they treat comedians based on the most recent thing that they've seen.
Yeah.
And it's brutal, and it does a number on people mentally. And I can see why people burn out and why they, you know, end up not continuing with it. Why they might do it for a little while, but eventually it gets to be too much. It takes a kind of unique kind of person, I think, to really persevere through all the difficulties and adversity with it.
It's a weird like narcissism and
It is.
like what like you want the pain, masochistic a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's a
like,
masochistic
it's
element.
like-
I hit walls all the time,
Yeah.
and then I'll be like, "Oh wow, this is a place where somebody else might have quit right now, and this hurts real bad, but I gotta keep going because I'm crazy."
Sure, yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I'm built different.
I turn into DMX when I have a bad set. I'm just in the car barking on the way home.
I was thinking Home Improvement guy, Tim Allen.
Tim Allen?
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, Tim Allen is a man, dude. Whenever I heard his story, I was like, I definitely got a chance, dude.
Oh, he he was like addicted to coke and stuff.
Well, not just addicted, but Tim Allen was like he was a coke dealer. He was like the guy, but he was also a comic.
Yeah.
Right? Tim was a comedy store guy. He was LA. He's living in LA. And he got popped about a month before he got this big audition for Fox. And he got popped. He had like an ounce of coke on him or something.
Wow.
Tim Allen, dude. So he's fucking out there sniffing blow, traveling the country, doing spots. Probably I don't know if he was closing at that time because who knows if he was middling? Who knows what he was out there doing? But he was obviously doing spots, got popped, driving through LA with coke on him. And then I think that all kind of like went away after he got that big role on Home Improvement.
That's really impressive versatility. To be able to do both of those things.
Yeah, to be like a family man, like a mainstream guy, and then also during the night, Bob Saget's a good example of that too.
Bob Saget.
Right? Bob Saget.
Yeah.
People did not come to Bob Saget shows expecting him to do the aristocrat joke. Right? It's like, and that's what his show was, 45 minutes of the aristocrat, if you really think about it.
The first, aside from a stand-up comedian I saw down in Nashville when I was a kid, it was at some like Christian like church event or something. It was a Christian comedian, so it was kind of a different scenario. That's the first stand-up I ever saw. But the second stand-up comedian I ever saw perform live was Bob Saget.
Okay,
because he came to Columbus and was doing a show on OSU's campus when I was a student there, and I took my girlfriend at the time to go see it, and she was a big fan of Full House, so she was expecting Danny Tanner. Like that's what she was anticipating.
Yeah,
so that's right. And
America's dirtiest dad.
And I was like bummed out. I was like, "Fuck, I got to go watch this cornball for an hour and a half or whatever," because I didn't know what his stand up was like either. So then when we got there and he actually started doing his act, the roles reversed because I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And she was appalled, you know?
Yeah. Which is way cooler. When you're watching something and your girlfriend hates it, you're like, this is hilarious.
For sure. But yeah, that's crazy that Tim Allen was doing coke and also.
Yeah, he was out there on the streets, dude.
I mean, kind of suggests we could do the meth thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Tim Allen had the blueprint.
Yeah.
And I think we should try it.
I think so. You would make a sweet Walter White.
I feel like I'd be good.
He's more of a Gus Fring kind of character.
You think you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's me.
I guess I have to be Walter White, and Pat, you'd be Jesse Pinkberry.
Yeah, I'd be
It's a wonderful ice cream place because this podcast is sponsored by Pinkberry.
Jesse Pink Boy.
Yeah. Jesse Pink Belly. Jesse, I have an infection in my belly button.
How'd you know?
Sorry.
I do.
How'd you know that?
I do have to. I've been, since Pat just mentioned it, I've been thinking about it, and I pride myself on knowing my strengths and weaknesses, and I would be a great drug dealer. I would be so good.
Yeah.
It's tempting in a way because just the organizational element appeals to me.
Oh yeah.
But
and you have the ultimate gateway into it. You could totally take Caleb's place. So.
Oh yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Comics are degenerates. You hang out at a bar a lot, If
you start growing your own hemp, you get the right kind of seeds, you just take over the THCA market. Right? It's still legal. You work your way up to get your license.
There you go.
In a
Johnny's
few years,
trying to turn Brickies into jokes and jokes. He's trying to bring it back.
Hey, we don't say that on this podcast. We don't use the J word on this podcast.
I was thinking about with Bricky's
I know you never used jokes ever.
It died. It died.
The J word jokes.
Rest in
Johnny's
peace.
Afraid of the J word.
Rest in peace. All right, that's it. We're moving on.
No more jokes. Ever.
No more jokes and jokes.
What were you saying, Kevin?
That's crazy. I was thinking about I was spitballing this as an idea for Bricky's, but I kind of want to start pranking the new comics.
Oh yeah.
And
wow, I love this.
Dropping subtle hints that we have ties to the Italian mob or something like that. I'd like to we're having a comics meeting and a guy in a fedora and a trench coat walks in, hands me an envelope that looks like it's full of cash.
That's sick.
And then randomly every now and then we'll have some really inconspicuous, like Italian guys in tracksuits
Yeah.
come in, like sit at a table.
We got Chris Caruso coming in.
Yeah.
I like
right.
this. I like
and
this.
we just like get them talking. You
Yeah.
know? And the new comedians come in, and then we all just play into it.
I like the idea of having a few comics in on it, and then you guys are sort of making sure the person is watching, and you passing the envelope to different guys.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Joe Young's running the show tonight, and you give him a little stack of cash.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
dude, people are going to get a crazy impression of what Bricky's is.
We start getting like weird, like you start letting like weird people get up on stage. Like, oh, this is friend of the house, you
Yeah,
know, and he
yeah.
does like some weird, you know, like he does some like
Hey, it's Tony
fucking
Salami,
Rat
everybody.
Pack
He's just
shit, you
gonna
know?
he's gonna come up and sing a few songs, and then we're gonna get this show
Who was
started.
the Rat Pack comedian? Like,
Frank Sinatra.
no, he's a singer.
There-
Like
they
Dean
did
Martin
have,
is a
Sammy
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry
Jerry
Lewis.
Lewis,
That's
maybe.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
Not the Great Balls of Fire, Jerry. That's Jerry
Different
Lee
one.
Lewis.
different one.
That's
Yep.
right.
I just like the idea of like a little bit of like mystique, or like a little bit of, I don't think it's the worst thing if there's like some rumors flying around that there's an edge to a thing, you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
Bricky's is like
I like that.
the building with 1,000 rooms, so
That's
it's not
true.
even like surprising. Like I discover new rooms, and I've been there 300 times, like all the
Yeah.
time.
We could
It's weird.
easily do a grow up there.
You know, there's like 6 bathrooms
Yeah,
there,
probably,
Johnny.
No.
There's like
Oh,
6
yeah.
bathrooms in that.
I need to
building.
find a secret bathroom to take a shit while I'm there, because if I take a shit before a show, I usually have a fucking good set. You feel that way? You like to dominate the territory a little bit? Not
Man.
even domination. It's just you put your mark on there. You put your stink out a little bit.
I used to, these days, like I end up like feeling like I don't have time. I just like keep
Oh, yeah.
holding it, you know?
Oh, kind of
That's
like
the
me
worst.
last
Yeah,
night.
so-
Dude, it's the fucking word.
Hey, we should tell people this, because we should tell people that. So last night I have 2 spots in Columbus doing Don't Tells, and then I coordinate with you and Jarrell to do a spot at, like a late spot at Bricky's.
Yeah.
So it's like an hour and a half from where I was in Columbus, and so I'm driving as fast as I can, and I'm like, I'm really cutting it close as far as making it to get there before the closer goes up to be able to get another spot.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to work out some new stuff, and I'm like, I got to go get this spot. And I don't tell you guys on the phone, like, hey, I'm like 23 minutes away. You're like, there's 25 minutes of comedy. You have to, we got to get here now. So I'm like, all right, I got to pee really bad. But I'm not going to stop. I'm going to pee in my water bottle. So, bro, I'm driving in cruise control like 75 miles an hour. I'm peeing in a water bottle, and I got too much pee for the water bottle.
That'll happen. Yeah.
So I start pissing all over my pants.
Was it one of those like little chubby water bottles? Or,
No, bro. It
it
was,
was
like probably like a 42 ounce, like
it's like kind of
like
like
a smart water?
like one of those kind of.
no, it
right?
wasn't a water bottle. It was like, it was like one of those canteens, bro. Like
okay.
it was
Gotcha.
actually, I don't want to say, but it was just like an Ohio State water bottle or something. You know what I
Okay,
mean? It was like
yeah.
one of those tall plastic ones with a straw that comes out of it. So
Yeah.
I obviously had to toss it out the window while I'm driving down the road. And like but I pissed all over my pants.
Damn.
I run into Bricky's, and then they're like, oh, there's like 2 people ahead of you. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I could have easily peed.
Well, me and Kevin did spots so we could stretch for you.
And I appreciate you guys so much for that, because while you guys were on stage, I went into the bathroom to the hand dryer, and I opened my pants, and I let it all run down my leg until I dried my underwear at least. And so that's how my night ended. It was great. It was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, definitely, man.
I'm sorry that I dried my piss pants with your hand dryer.
Oh, I'm not. No, it's all
I
good.
need a secret bathroom for that. That's all I'm saying.
There are. I'll say this: there are some secret bathrooms.
Okay.
I can't tell everyone where they are.
Well, we won't do it on the podcast. We'll have 86 people in there trying to line up to. And we don't have a big following, but
and I watch it like 10 times sometimes. So it's like
that would be.
stop doing that.
But that would be.
I need real metrics.
That would be a great way to get data on your guys' fan base, though.
Yeah.
Is just like wait and see who's lined up at the secret bathroom at Bricky's, and then you just go through and take like a census, you know.
Yeah, that's
And
sick.
then you got all your demographic data.
And we
I
do
like
like
that.
he used to do. Do you still do this? But like at the end of the show, you fill out the thing. Like heard about it on Johnny Morningwood's podcast.
I stopped doing that
I didn't know if you still did
because
that.
the website has a function where people can like leave their email address, and mainly we were using it to collect emails. But I do feel like we're probably not capturing a large percentage of walk-ups. Like
Yeah.
they're information.
Yeah.
So we should start doing cards again.
You should
Need
do
to bring
that.
that
Really
back.
helped in the beginning, and you might as well, if you didn't do that, just do a campaign. It doesn't have to be forever.
The problem
Figure
is
out how many you'd
Kevin
have to get
is
for 6
Yeah.
months to do it again or something like that. Kinda
Exactly.
build it up.
Yep.
the problem
a
is
little.
Kevin is afraid to have a door guy because
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like
Well, it's hard to see people. I used to
he's
be
trying to seat. He needs a guy to seat people, and then he takes the money and gives them the thing to their hand, like hands them.
Yeah.
to it,
I
you
used
know?
to be a door guy at Go Bananas, and it was sometimes it could be difficult to put people where they needed to be. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like if you have a club that seats 100 or 200 people, and you know you only have 40 pre-sales, 23 pre-sales, like I
Yeah.
can't put you in the back of the room,
Exactly.
right? And people have requests. It's like, hey, if you showed up early,
Yeah.
I have to put you up here, and I have to and you need a door guy who's going to confidently tell them that the comics are not going to talk to them unless they talk to them. It's almost like a haunted house. It's like, don't touch them; they won't touch you.
Yeah.
It's like there are rules that the door guys should know and be able.
I think those are strip club rules. They just,
well,
I'm
you
just
know, you
kidding.
gotta. Hey, that's all right. Sometimes
Hey,
you gotta
find a
borrow.
fucking. You need a bouncer, dude.
That's a good point. You know, so one of the reasons why I almost always work the door is the seating concern, but the other piece is that it's a really good way to find out very transparently which of the new comedians are complete assholes,
Yeah,
because they'll be dicks to the door guy because they're like, oh, this is just the door guy, you know? And then if at the end of the show they find out you're the booker at the venue and they come up to you and suddenly they're a completely different person and they're nice,
yeah,
in my brain, I'm kind of like, well, fuck that guy, you know?
yeah, 100%.
So it's kind of a way for me to like, because I don't want to be booking people who are going to like, you know, be unprofessional or like be assholes to people or like treat the bar staff badly. So it kind of like, it serves the dual purpose of like, I can micromanage the seating process to ensure we condense people as much as possible toward the front of the room. But also I can get a feel for like newer comedians that are coming in, like whether or not they're like generally like nice people, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, I really do need to, that's something I do need to delegate. It's like the last thing I'm like really hesitant to give up, you know,
yeah.
in terms of like actual, like, you know, managing a show in real time. But
Yeah, because you have given up some of the other roles, and you're kind of like you're still wearing a lot of hats, but there, you know, you definitely probably got some other things behind the scenes that other people can't do that you most likely need to get to, and that's stuff that is only in your control. So you have to, you'll have to figure that out. I'm sure you're gonna.
I think you have done I've run into this, like I work for my dad, so like my dad built this business for himself, so like when he started bringing employees on, it was like weird because you all of a sudden like don't have all these roles, and you need to like to define, you know, like the roles that you and only you can do, you know, and then farm out the rest, you know.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
No, it's totally
Good point.
true.
Yeah. Okay, Kev. Tell us what's coming up for Bricky's. Where can people? What's the website? People go get tickets for the shows. What do you folks have coming up soon? And what's kind of like the future of Bricky? What's the future of Bricky's look like to you? If you want to kind of divulge into that a little bit, and then tell us about some of the upcoming shows. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I mean, I think right now we're kind of on the precipice of like the next step for this whole thing. You know, our show schedule has increased substantially. So now we're at like 12 to 14 shows a month. We've built up all the infrastructure kind of over time. We still got some incremental changes to make, but we've largely crafted it into like a really like effective, comfortable, like comedy club environment. So I think coming up, we're basically doing a sprint from here to February, like the next world record.
Yeah.
And we're doing tons of shows a month. We're going to do tons of initiatives kind of like in between now and the record. We're working on the Cincinnati location. That's always kind of like a little bit of a heavy lift to try and get that rolling. But yeah, the vision is basically, you know, over the summertime, we've got some initiatives like, you know, toward the end of the summer we want to get Bricky Cincinnati launched. We want to solidify our new setup and our new show schedule, and our rotation of shows. And then in February, we want to break the world record again and kind of solidify the Dayton comedy scene as, the top scene in the Midwest.
I love that, dude. That's amazing, brother. That's amazing. And what do you guys got coming up for the end of June and July?
So end of June is so this will probably come out in a few days because tonight we've got the Cockaroo shows, but the next weekend, the 21st, we've got comedy mix up with 6 Cents.
Okay.
So he brings in like a bunch of like, really funny local people. So that's going to be awesome.
Six is the best.
He's great.
Shout out to 6 Cents. We love him
For sure.
He's been on the show before.
Yeah, he's awesome. And then we've got Friday Mike as always. Friday Mike resumes its normal schedule next week on the 20th. And then we're gonna do a show on the 28th, but I still need to get that squared away. I think we're probably gonna do like a comedy power hour. It's something we've been doing lately where it's like we need less lead time in order to put it together because it basically involves like Brian Swinehart and I will go out into the community and just pull people, just bark, and put a show together that way. So we'll probably do that toward the end of June, and then July, similar to June, we've got shows every single weekend, pretty much Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's gonna be busy, but we're gonna kind of keep it moving.
I love that, man. I'm excited for you, Kevin. I'm excited for what Bricky's has coming up, man. And I always love doing shows there. It's a great place. So
thank
you for building it and being a staple in the community and just making our lives easier as comics to be able to have a really great place to hang and do spots. So
Kevin has built it, and I have
we
came.
appreciate you. And Pat, thank you for being here. You fucking goon. You fucking goon.
There's a lot of jizz in that building. I will say that.
You guys are great. Woodies, thank you for watching. You guys have to go check out Bricky's. If you don't know Kevin, you haven't been there yet, please go do that. And if you have, go back and see another show. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being here.
We love you, Woodies. Bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome, brother.